I saw the headlines about giving him a board seat. I'm assuming that takes place very soon. But the bigger picture here is the stock moved 25, 27% one day. It's down a little bit today as we record. Yeah, what has changed, if anything? I love the macro story here on the new kind of activist investor we've seen. Like I mentioned quickly yesterday, there's nothing new under the sun here. Money is going to be thrown around all the time by rich people and groups. But do you think this changes anything on the activist? And I tied this with AMC getting into gold and silver mines. I mean, anything is possible. And I have a few theories or things I would like to see happen or might think will. But now that he's a board member and much more vocal and all that, what do you think on this?
I'd buy Twitter right now. I would even up 35%. And if you haven't bought it, buy a little bit now, and then scaling, you'll probably see pull back a little bit. And here's why: Twitter is a cool platform, and the problem with Twitter is it stopped growing, right? Because their demographic isn't the same as a Facebook or an Instagram. We have lots of kids on it. You do have crypto crazies on it, but it's more like, I don't want to say a mature platform in terms of the people who are on it. But what happened with Twitter is it stopped growing in terms of users. And that is the metric. Every single company, every industry has a metric. And it's not always earnings and sales. Sometimes it's same store sales. Sometimes it's average revenue per user. It's different across all industries, right? So, how much hedges take place in oil and gas. So again, a lot of the earnings, of course, are going to drive the stock, and not necessarily the last 10 years earnings drove stocks. My point is, Twitter found a way to monetize its list faster than everybody else, and they do a fantastic job monetizing. However, people weren't concerned with earnings because that wasn't the metric. It was growing the platform. That's why Facebook got really, really hit, because they finally, after adding how many people with 3 billion plus, you can't really keep going after that. It's crazy. People didn't think they'd go after, 500 million, 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, whatever, no matter how many Facebook accounts. But that's the metric that's really driving social media companies, that growth. And when that stopped for Twitter, that was a problem. However, they did find a way much, much quicker than Facebook of how to monetize it through advertising. So they do a great job monetizing, but people are just like, it's not really a growth stock no more, so we don't want Twitter. Elon Musk has 80 million followers. You're going to see so many more. You're going to see the metrics in Twitter go up almost incredibly, like dramatically over the next couple of quarters, because a lot of these people want to go on there. And 80 million followers on Twitter, but look at everything and every other platform that he's on and the reach he has globally. Yeah. So you're talking about hiring the Michael Jordan in terms of the most exciting person, the most followed person in the world, and now he's a major stakeholder in that platform who's going to promote the shit out of it. And I can tell you, anything that guy says and anything he promotes on that thing just goes up tremendously. And now he talks crypto, so everyone in the crypto world is definitely going to be on Twitter now.
Tesla stock, crypto, a lot of things.
I mean, his following, and so he's going to get the board seat. He owns almost 10%, meaning that he doesn't have to file. 10% would be filing. Maybe that goes to 10% because it's up now or whatever. I don't know how. Yeah, I think he can't own more than 14% of it. I think that's part of the deal now that he's a board member. And he's saying, it fails to adhere to the free speech principles, and that's why he was taking Twitter polls the other day and whatever. But what does this mean, right? And you mentioned the elephant in the room. Does this mean we're going to see Donald Trump come back on his platform? Because you can't have it one way and not the other, right? Because it's got to be free speech. And I use Donald Trump because a lot of people hate Donald Trump. But think about the person you hate the most and their views and everything. This, if you have free speech and this is what he wants his platform to be, that's freedom of speech right there. I don't care if you agree with someone or you disagree with someone, if you hate Trump, you don't like Trump, whoever it is across any single platform, if it's the craziest conservative in the world or the craziest liberal in the world, you'd have to see Trump come back on this platform, which again would be a boom to the stock because he had the most Twitter followers, I believe, or is in the top 5 or 10, because even the people that hate him love following him and love trying to troll him all the time. So in terms of the stock here, I really like Twitter. And, look, Elon Musk is incredibly powerful than most of these big hedge funds, believe it or not. So if he wants to get something done or control something, I think he's going to easily be able to persuade the board. And again, we'll see about the votes and some of these people, but everybody that spends just a couple of minutes with this guy loves him because, people think he's arrogant. It's more confident, but I've seen him humble. You see him humble all the time. The mistakes he made, how he almost went out of business. And he just has that power when you're in the room with him. You just like him. And being in that boardroom, is going to make an incredible difference where he's got a lot of fire on him and saying, listen, this is where we need to be. Okay. I did it with every company that I have, and look where I am. This is where we need to be with Twitter. I think this is a boom for the stock here, and I'd be buying. I
think it's the next. I think it can turn into what I'm interested in to see if it turns into like this meme stock. So I'm glad to see it. From a little bit of me is excited to see it pull back a little bit after popping so high and that 25-27% range. What I love about this is that it shines the light in an election year. And the irony here is, you mentioned Bitcoin conference. I believe last year at the Bitcoin conference, Jack Dorsey was talking about free speech and all that, got interrupted by a heckler. Fast forward a year later during Bitcoin conference, Elon Musk is basically sounding the same and taking control of that company, or having a major influence. I don't want to say taking control. So Frank, give me an over-under. Now, real quick here, let me back that up.
Uh-oh.
The freedom of speech stuff is a whole nother topic, because you have freedom of speech, meaning you can say anything you want, not go to jail like other countries against your government. You have the right to speak out. The freedom of speech to say anything you want is more of a gray area on private platforms. That's where you're going to see that in the headlines back and forth. Say, hey, freedom of speech doesn't mean you're allowed to say now anything you want, anywhere you want. That's going to continue down the road to the lowest hanging fruit to there is a Trump supporter would say, Frank, okay, well, if you kick Trump off for XYZ, then why is this guy or this woman or this person or this entity allowed to post? That's where you're going to go on that. Moving past all that, from something I'll continue to follow during an election year on freedom of speech, what stops the copycats or a new sector growing here, Frank? Like AMC, get the meme stock. They raised a bunch of capital. They can do whatever they want. What's stopping? We've seen a fund start to just short Cathie Woods, the SARK, who is shorting the ARK funds. Mm-hmm. All you need is a loud platform, a vocal person, and a lot of money. If I were CEOs of companies that didn't have a lot of share control or stock, I would be a little nervous right now, because this opens the platform for a whole new game of hedge funds and everybody else preaching and putting money behind their words. And we've seen this. We've talked about this with BlackRock. It's already starting. This is just Elon Musk is doing what he does. He's just putting it in the limelight and saying, hey, this is going on. And I think he's going to set up for a long battle, and it's going to be great. I'm getting more bullish on Twitter. It's so hard to buy stuff after it pops like that. I'd have to look into when's the board meeting and all that kind of stuff, but he is going to be vocal. And I don't see how does this not turn into the next meme stock, I guess, is what I'm trying to talk myself or think myself through.
Yeah, I can tell you meme stocks. I just had like some of the market caps I was showing you, though, for the meme stocks. It's easy to move around stocks with $10 billion, $15 to $12 billion. Not that easy, but with that crowd, it's easier. And you're looking at the AMCs and GameStops, $11, $12 billion market cap. With Twitter now is $40 billion, right? So you're looking at 10, 11 billion market caps of $40 billion. So it's, maybe they're able to push it around here and there, and I get it, but it's a much larger name. But, just the crowd, getting back to the Twitter point again, it's, I always have to say it's not political. It's not. But if he's going to get Donald Trump back on the platform, if he's going to get a lot of, usually those crazy people who are out there who are not on the platform have big followings. Again, not to say whatever they want, but either way, this is great for the company. It's all around. I don't see the negative of how this is a negative for Twitter, and just getting the meme crowd in there, getting more people on this platform. Now it's going to be a growing platform again, I believe, and it should be pretty exciting for that. And Jack Dorsey, just to put in perspective, you said earlier, what is he on, like 2%, Daniel? And
I don't know. It's very little.
I think it's like 2% of the stock. He stepped down. I think he stepped down totally. I think he stepped down for the CEO. He stepped down for the board, I think, this year. So he's going to be, doing whatever he's doing. But, it just shows you, it's a $3 billion stake. He's not messing around. So let's see what happens. And, this is the platform that he uses the most. So it should be interesting. It should be pretty cool.